Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to have Sarah as my guest today. I actually saw you, Sarah. I don't know if you remember a couple of months ago on someone else's LinkedIn Live. I think it was Jillian's. And I was like, oh my goodness, I must have her be my guest. And I was so excited when you said yes. So if you can, for people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about kind of, who you are and what you do. It's a
Thank you.
lot.
Thank you very much, Annette. It's really, really lovely to be here. And yes, it was on Gillian's show a few months ago, and Gillian's also been on mine, so you'll have to come on mine as well next time. So I am a career coach. I've been doing this role self-employed now for the last 19 years, and I have a massive interest in LinkedIn. So in all my historic roles, I've been quite involved in learning-based technology. So kind of LinkedIn and career management works really well for me. So I like to know as much as I possibly can about LinkedIn and how I can use that knowledge to help people develop their careers. So mainly I work with people that have taken redundancy, but it can be anyone at any stage of their career. And then as an aside to that, I also am a running coach, and we have a holiday property that we let out, and I'm a trustee for a local youth-based charity. So that takes up quite a lot of time as well. So one of the things I talk a lot about with my clients is having a portfolio career. So that's kind of what I've got, and like to help people on their way to that if that's what they're interested in as well.
Wow, that is fabulous. I know when I spoke to you a few weeks ago, you were telling me about running, and you're running in the marathon, right? In the fall?
Well, I hoped so. Myself and my friend were hoping that we could get over to the New York Marathon, but it's because the last 2 years hasn't happened, or not in. If it has, it's only been quite a small field. It's already full up, so we're going to do that next year. We're hopefully going to do Berlin instead this year, so we're looking at that now.
Well, I'll tell
Yes.
you, as someone who is, just so non-athletic and needs to just get a little exercise in my life more than I do. I am so impressed by you because, the best I ever did was a little bit of jogging that I convinced myself was running. So, thank you to everyone who is here. Please say hello, and tell us where you're joining from so that we know that everything is broadcasting. You're able to see us and hear us and all of that stuff. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about LinkedIn and then sort of the career coaching as well. And many people, particularly, not people like us, but people that are job seekers, they're, just work in corporate. They think of LinkedIn as kind of a place where, you put something up there, you have your account, and sometimes it's just, uh, job titles and companies and barely there, kind of a skeleton LinkedIn profile. And even if they do spend the time to, work on it, they just do it kind of haphazardly. So I'd love to just start our conversation. If you can just, if someone today is watching this or they're watching on the replay and they think, you know what, I should do something with my LinkedIn profile. What are a couple of things that they can do to kind of immediately make it better, more attractive, more engaging?
Yeah.
Now, tough question. There's so much, right?
Yeah, well, I was actually with someone this morning that was in that very similar situation. So I think, first of all, I think my first thing would be don't panic, because I think people kind of go in and quickly upload some stuff onto LinkedIn, and then, as you say, they just leave it. And it might be simple things like, well, I've worked for one employer all this time, but I can't work out how to divide it up into the different roles I've had. So I think just take a bit of time and really, really think about what you want to put on there. But in terms of the profile, I think if you start from the very top, that very top section is called the contact card, and that's really where you want to have your real attention grabbing stuff. So a nice headshot photo. It doesn't have to be professionally taken, just something that people can recognize as you, as up to date as possible, so it does still look like you. and then a banner image at the top. So I think that's one of the giveaways for me. Most people have the default grey banner there. So if you can have an image there of something that's related to you. So it could be, quite a lot of my clients are based in London. So I'll say to them, think about maybe having the skyline of London up there or something like that. So it just gives an indication of where you work. Or if you can be a bit more creative and have something that relates to your industry, that's great as well. So I've got a few people in sustainability and they've come up with some really nice graphics that kind of ties them in. So already you're just starting to create that picture of yourself so that when people look at it, they will see either where you're based or what it is you do. So I think that's my first tips about the photos. Then obviously you've got your name, which sounds very obvious, but quite often people put their name the wrong way round or all in lowercase or something like that. So just think about how you want that to be seen. And also you can pronounce your name. So that's something that's really great as well. You can record yourself on your mobile device, saying your name so people can pronounce it properly, which is a nice feature. And then the headline, I think from that top section, you have 220 characters. It's really, really useful to be able to change that. So most people's will probably be the default, which is their most recent job title and employer. But if you can change that to something that is kind of representative of what you're looking for, that can be really helpful so that when recruiters are looking, they will find you for what it is you want to do, not what you've done in the past. So I could just talk through the whole profile, but I don't want to.
We can certainly come back to that because I'm going to ask you later on about like content and things like that. And I thank you for saying that you don't need to have a professional headshot taken. I mean, I talk to a potential clients of mine, and they're like, well, I'm just waiting because I need to set up a time with a photographer, but I don't have the time. And I know none of mine are professionally taken, but there's so many things that you can do that just, so I appreciate that. And the whole thing, the three things that you were talking about and the headline too, I mean, they call it a headline for a reason, right? I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
They don't say job title, they say headline. And a lot of that is kind of sets you up for developing your own sort of brand that people recognize you and what you do.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Yeah, and use it for how it works for you. So a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, a few people in the past said to me, "Oh, yours is confusing because it does so much." But actually, that is what I do. So, and I really do believe in having this portfolio career where you do lots of things. So for me, that is important for me. So I think don't just think I've got to do one thing. If you've got more than one, then do that. But just think about the most important thing. So those first 46 characters are the most important, really. So you have your highest priority thing right at the beginning so that people do know wherever they see you, they'll see those characters.
Yes, that's a great thing. I'm glad you mentioned that because it follows you. I mean, your first few characters, your headshot, are they follow you wherever you go on LinkedIn. So that is so important. And so of course, you need to have a compelling LinkedIn profile. I mean, as a former recruiter, I know that I think of LinkedIn as like Google for people. Because if you're a recruiter and you're sourcing, which I did for a couple of years, recruiters are on there all day, every day. If you have this sort of skeleton, then you may come up number 694 out of 735 in the search. And then, of course, if you're not grabbing them with that headshot, as you say in the headline, it's just, not working. So I'd like to move on to some strategies because I know you work with people on using LinkedIn for job search.
Yeah.
And that's more than the profile.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think once you're happy with your profile, and I'd say a good thing to do there is think about the job you're looking for next and kind of type that into the search bar. Use quote marks because then it will find the exact word you're looking for, not just one of them. So if I talk about the person I was seeing this morning, ESG. ESG analyst was what this client was looking for. So if you type ESG analyst in quote marks into the search bar, hit return, you get all your filters, and then first of all click on people, and that's going to give you a list of people on LinkedIn that have already got that job title. So what you can do then is just start looking at their profiles, seeing what it is, how they've got to that role, what skills they've got. So you can use that to help build your profile. So I think that's a really good tip to kind of to do that. Also, you can start connecting to people in that way. So I know there's this whole thing about who should you connect to? Is it people you've met? Is it people that you've just found? And I think it is very personal, but I do think that what's one of the pluses of the pandemic, that people are much more open to be connecting. And we were chatting about this just before we went live, that I've got so many connections now globally, which is really amazing. Lots of other career coaches all around the world, and it's been really great for me to kind of develop my knowledge, find out what's going on in other parts of the world. And it's not really competition, because they're not people that are going to be going to the same clients as me, but we're all learning from each other. So I think you can absolutely send connection requests to people that are doing similar roles to you, and just, say in that connection request why you want to connect. You're just trying to build up your network of people doing the same kind of thing. So I think, that's how we connected, isn't it? So
yeah, yes, yes, we were just chatting with this before we went live, and I feel very blessed by knowing people now all over the world that I interact with many of them, not necessarily daily, but very often during the week, and it is such a blessing. And it's true, people do think of sometimes as people being their competition, but it's not even just what you do, it's how you do it, it's your personality. I mean, I'm not a good fit for everybody. I'm pretty frank and straightforward. That's not right for everybody. Some people need someone who's more, gentle or whatever, and we all are different. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. So I think that's the first thing, is kind of getting your profile right, finding other people to do the same kind of job. And then before you even start looking to apply for jobs on there, I think it's just building up that awareness of you. So as well as having your profile up to date, make sure that everything you're looking at on LinkedIn, have a look at content that's relevant to what you're going to be doing. So have a bit of a strategy. So if it is ESG or sustainability, make sure you're liking those kind of posts. You don't even have to comment to start with, but just like them, because then every time someone sees your name, it's going to be linked to that thing to do with what you're looking for next. So you're just building up this subconscious picture in people's heads about you. So then, of course, you can move on to commenting, and if you do, then making sure that you're using about more than 5 words to try to have a decent conversation. And if you want to go on to posting, then again, use that same strategy. I know lots of people are not comfortable with posting, but if you do, it could be about a conference you're going to, or a course you're going on, or something like that. So it could be really work focused, really to do with that job that you're looking for next. And again, it's just building up that picture. And then when it comes to actually looking for jobs, I guess you have got the job search functionality there. So again, using the quote marks in the job title, type in the title you're looking for, your location, hit return, and you will get a lot of filters up. So use those filters. If you click on the one right on the end where it's all filters and go right down to the bottom, you can then see the job titles that have come up in your search, because what actually happens when you do that search is it looks through the whole job description, not just the job title. So you want to make sure it is the actual job title you're looking for, not just reports to this role or something like that. So that massively cuts down the number of results that come up. And you can then add any other filters. So if it's the industry you want to work in, or the department, or something like that, you can add all of those. And then hit on your job alert. So then your job alert will only notify you for the exact match, rather than anything that just happened to have that word in. So I think that's the biggest frustration when I talk to clients, is they say the job alerts are full of rubbish. But if you set up the filters properly, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about not panicking, so be quite structured and thoughtful as you're going through that process. I think I probably wouldn't bother setting the salary parameters, because a lot of the jobs don't have salaries on anyway, so you may well end up discounting jobs. But there is a filter for level, so you can go through and kind of say if you're mid-manager, senior director, that kind of thing. So you could do that kind of filter if you wanted to kind of cut out junior roles or senior roles. So I think that's the main points from the job search setup.
No, I think that's great. And it's also a great way to look for recruiters, right? So
Yes.
I was just looking at that, to go in there and find recruiters that maybe you might know them,
Yeah.
or, or you might see a name and find somebody else who knows them.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this morning I was typing in ESG plus recruiter in the search bar, hit return, go to people, and then that gives you a list of recruiters that specialize in that subject. So I would then always filter that to my first degree connections, or maybe my second degree as well, which will then just show me all the people that we have in common, and that just starts to give you that credibility. So if it's a recruiter where you've got lots of connections, then I would then probably ask those connections what they thought of them, check out their LinkedIn profile. How active are they? Have they got lots of followers on their organization? How do they advertise roles? Because some of them don't actually use the job search functionality itself. They might just write a post. So you might then be able to find their company page, follow them, and set up job alerts that way. Just have a look at their posts rather than actual job adverts.
Well, I thank you for all of that. And I'm going to ask you about something else that I've heard you speak about before. But,
Okay.
I just want to mention, too, there are, when with the profile, and I just asked you about the recruiters, and there are recruiters, headhunters, they're not posting ads at all. They
No.
are only searching, based on a contract that they have. So, if you are just working on think, well, I'll just respond to jobs and that's how I'll find something, you're going to miss out on that whole other group of people.
Yeah.
And I do want to ask you, because I've heard you speak about this before, and I think it's a fabulous resource that I was not really aware of, but the company pages.
Yes.
Right? It's amazing the insight that they have there. I think
Yeah.
it's fabulous.
Yeah, so when you go to a company page, what you can do is you can follow the company, and then that will mean then that you might see their posts in your feed. It doesn't always happen like that, because we all know from LinkedIn that company pages are not particularly favoured. But what that does is, from a recruiter view, so if the company has LinkedIn Recruiter, or if they've got someone working on their behalf, what they'll do is they'll run their search for the job title and the key skills, etc. And if you meet that, then you get flagged up in the results. And if you already follow that company, then you're flagged up as someone who has an interest in that company. So it's absolutely worth clicking on that follow button. And even better if you can then start interacting with some of their content. So liking the odd post, or commenting is really great. So yes, you do get that. So that's a definite thing to do. Make sure you follow any companies that you really want to work for. So I know it's not possible to follow every company that might be searching for you, but the ones that you're really interested in, I think that's really worthwhile.
Oh, absolutely. And it takes away, it turns that cold call for the recruiter into a warm call, because they know you're already interested.
Yes.
And employers want to know that you want them, right? It's not just that you want the job, but if you are
Mm.
particularly interested in them, they would be more interested in you.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. And then you can set up job alerts directly on the company pages as well, so you can go in and get notified each time that individual company is recruiting. So that's worth doing as well.
So one of the things that you also brought up and put this as, part of our topic today for discussion, is career advancement. So career advancement to me means that it might be in your own company, or it might be that you just want to find a higher level role in another company. It could be
Mm.
one or the other. So what can you do on LinkedIn sort of to demonstrate that, maybe leadership that is going to be necessary, or if you're, sort of changing careers, what can you do on LinkedIn to sort of kind of boost your chances of moving up in your career?
So there's loads of stuff. If you took out LinkedIn Premium, you've got LinkedIn Learning as part of that, which is really good. So you can go on there and do some of the courses there, and they are good courses. They all get reviewed, so you can kind of go in and see how many people have liked them. So that's good. Once you've done those courses, you can opt to have a little badge put on your profile if you want to. So that's quite good. So that does demonstrate that you are kind of doing some development. So that's good. I think I would do the same as what I said at the beginning if you are searching for your next role. So it can be a future role. So it could be a role that you're thinking, in 5 years, I want to be HR director or whatever. So start to find those people that are doing that role now. And if you feel comfortable, then kind of be brave and ask people if they would do informational interviews with you. So basically, you know, getting in touch, saying, my ambition is to do this role in a few years. Would you mind having, you know, 10 minutes to just give me some of your top tips on how to move into that role? So being really clear about the time you'd like to spend with them, and don't ever overrun. And when you have that call, you kind of check with them they're still okay to chat with you. But it's really good, I think, to build up those relationships with people in that way, or even just follow them to start with. So follow them, start interacting on their posts. They may well then send you a connection request if you're someone that interacts with them. So there's really kind of subtle ways to get a connection request. So starting off by following, interacting, and then either you send them one or they send you one at some point.
Yeah, that is so true. It is so true. And the interacting, you know, and if you see posts, and one of the things that I mention to people is, if you have someone that you know, you'd like to know them, and maybe more importantly, you'd like them to know you, that you, when you are engaging like that, they will get to know you. You'll get to know them, and they'll get to know you. So it's really mutually beneficial. It's not just, you know, you connecting with them. And I know when I first got into sort of the career space, this is going back over a decade ago, and I connected with someone on LinkedIn, someone who I was kind of in awe of, and I followed her a bit, and I sent her a connection request, and lo and behold, she accepted my request. This is now somebody who's actually local to me, and she's actually one of my good friends, you know, and we became, you know, friends from that. So, you know, you just never know where those relationships can lead, but it's it is really all about starting that connection. And not, I do know people when they often connect, and of course we all know people who are selling something, so they
Yeah.
connect you when they're pitching you their service. For me, it might be a CRM or something like that, or whatever. But when people are looking for work, they will often connect with somebody and almost immediately say, well, you know, what do you have a job for me? And recruiters say
Yeah. And I would,
that they
yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
Can you find me a job?
So yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah.
No, no. I think that's what I say to everyone. Don't ever directly ask someone for a job, but asking people for advice, or if they happen to see anything, if they could let you know, that kind of thing is all fine. And I think people you're connected to, the other thing you can do on LinkedIn, which is really good, is you can download all your connections. So you do that from the settings area, from data privacy, I think. So you can download everyone, and that gives you their name, their job title, their employer, and the date you connected. So from there, what I do is I go in and I kind of rate my relationship effectively. So I'll say, how well do I know this person? How often do I interact with them? How likely are they to be able to introduce me to people that might help me with developing my career? And then I kind of sort that. And then I always look at the top 10%, because that seems to be the sort of the rule of thumb. The top 10% of your network will be able to help you in your job search. So obviously, if you've got 500 people, you're looking for those 50 people. And then you kind of come up with a bit of a targeted approach of how you're going to maintain your connection with them, and you're going to ask them out for a glass of wine or a coffee or something like that. And it's like a mutual thing as well. So how can you help them, and just really strengthen those relationships, so that when you do need to kind of call in a favor, you're already on good terms with them, and you keep in regular contacts. So I think that's a really, really useful tool as well from LinkedIn.
And you know, and the beauty of now, we have gotten so used to being on video that you can have a video. I mean, we had a video coffee chat, you know,
We did, yeah,
a
yeah.
while ago, and I just had one with yesterday with someone who, you know, I know through Clubhouse, and I see her all the time, but I really didn't know her, and we spent, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes together, and it's like, wow, I found another kindred spirit. So
Yeah.
it's so great to do that. And you know, you just never, you know, you never know where these things are going to go. So you know, one of the things that you're talking about, content with the commenting, and you know, working up to sort of posting, and people, a lot of, you know, coaches or LinkedIn coaches say, oh, well, you must be on there every day. You must spend like an hour every day. And I think, to people who are not familiar, people that I talk to, colleagues of mine, they say, oh, it's a lot of work. I can't just jump in for an hour a day. So what's your advice on like how long I mean, just to get going, how long do you need to
Yeah,
spend? And
yeah, I say to people, just try and spend 10 or 15 minutes first thing in the morning going through your news feed. So I look at both my desktop and my mobile device because they are totally different feeds. So you will see different information on both of those things. So I do spend a bit of time at the beginning whilst I'm having my cup of tea to see what's been going on overnight. Because as you know, we've got connections worldwide. So there's always new content going on, which is great. So yeah, I just kind of go through that and like or comment on the odd thing that I see first thing. And again, just think about being strategic. So don't like everything you see, but try to have it tailored so that it is relevant to you and what you're looking for. So that people are, like I said at the beginning, building up that picture of you. So I think 10-15 minutes at the beginning of the day is fine. I think most people do quite quickly see that it is pretty addictive and they will spend a bit more. And you know, when I started showing people around LinkedIn, they'll say, blimey, I could be here all day. And I say, yeah, you absolutely could. You know, the My Network tab is really useful. It gives you suggested events, suggested groups. So that's quite a good page to kind of go on to get some tips on things that might be useful for you in your job search and sort of other groups that you might want to join, that kind of thing. So yeah, that would be my main advice. 10-15 minutes beginning of each day. Weekends optional, up to you. I mean, some of the best content is at weekends, so you know you could spend some time at the weekend. And I think you do start to build up relationships with people if you do invest that bit of extra time. But I know not everyone wants to do that. It is kind of a much more a transactional thing for them. They want to go on to find a job, and you still can do that, but by spending sort of 10-15 minutes a day and building up that picture of yourself, I think.
well, I love that you said that because my whole experience with LinkedIn changed when I sort of woke up and started thinking of it, realizing that, oh my goodness, this is a human to human thing. It's not
Mm,
me and my connections, and some of the things that people do on LinkedIn, if they leave a comment, nice post or something, if somebody was talking to you and telling you something, you wouldn't go, oh, great. You
yeah,
really
you'd expand a bit. Yeah, yeah.
thoughtful response. And it is so much about the human connection. And once you start, it can be addictive. And I try to, because I have that, bright shiny object syndrome. I mean, I am like the poster child for that. But it becomes fun. It's not
Mm.
a chore once you start developing those relationships, although you're looking at other things as well. You are you really, it's enjoyable. And so we have somebody that just said this was helpful. So sorry I have to jump off, but really appreciated all of your insights. So, oh, okay, joining us from LA. So just to mention, if you do catch the replay, you need to check your profile photo because we cannot see it in our comments here because it must be set to maybe privacy or something like that, right? So there's a really easy way to check that, right?
Yeah, I think probably because it says LinkedIn user as well. I think if you go to your settings, there's I can't remember exactly where it is. I can put it in the comments afterwards, but there is somewhere where you can say that you want your profile visible through third party applications. So you just need to check that box. But I will try and recall exactly where it is for the comments.
Well, yeah, I have heard that as well, and it is certainly something where I think now you can actually do it right in your headshot. That there's a little
Okay.
eye on there where you can make sure that you want to be public, right? So
Yes.
everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Um, so I have to ask you, and I mentioned this to you before we went live. There's a whole thing about LinkedIn. There's the professional, then there's personal, and then my buddy Valerie, I learned this first from her. With personal, it's like personal, and then there's also private, which is a different thing. And I know some people, I think most people actually think of LinkedIn as being this stuffy, formal place. And a lot of other people want to just have fun. Well, they want to have fun as part of it. So what's your take on that whole personal, private, professional thing?
I mean, I think it's down to personal choice really and what you want to do on there. So again, I think most of my clients are reluctant posters, if at all. So for them, I would say, stick to professional if that's what you want to do. But you do get more interaction if you do start to reveal a bit more personal stuff. So there was a big campaign last year, and I can't remember exactly what it called. This little girl.
Oh, this little girl is me. Yes.
That's it. I mean, that I posted on that one, and that was definitely my most viewed post ever. It had, thousands and thousands of views. So people do like to know a bit about you. So I think I would definitely start with professional. And then if you feel comfortable, you can something like that where lots of people are doing it. I think that's relatively safe. And the private, I guess it's up to you where your boundaries are, I suppose, because you do get lots of people saying this isn't Facebook, but I mean, I would just ignore that, to be honest. If you want to share, then share, and you will have people that are supporting you. So yeah, I think it is really personal choice and how you feel comfortable. I probably wouldn't say go from nothing straight into a private post because probably no one will see it anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I would start off with the professional and then, kind of gradually increase how much personal stuff that you give. I mean, I know people talk about sort of ratios of maybe 3 professional to 1 personal, and so you could go down that way. But I think you just need to be thinking, what is it you want people to remember you for? So for me, most of my posts are about LinkedIn tips or job search tips, and then I will put in the odd thing about running coaching or being a trustee or something about my family. So occasionally.
Yeah. I mean, I do that too. I love that campaign. I
Mm,
participated in it also, and I really just love reading the stories
mm,
from people that I
yeah,
meet. And, you get to learn about them. And I agree with you. I think people do like to see a little bit about you. And, most of my posts are, professional. I do
mm,
like to share. People love to see my dogs. They'd rather see my dogs and hear about my dogs than me. But
yeah.
I I have put videos of spaghetti sauce that I was cooking. So, hi Seb, thank you for joining us. Here's our buddy. This is not Facebook. It is better than Facebook.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes, that is so true. That is so true. Um, and
Facebook confuses me now, I have to say, because I don't look at it very often. I just look at the memories every day because I like that. But other than that, I think I've never seen anything from people I know anymore. But as my husband says, because you don't interact on it. Just fair enough.
well, that's true. I am, I'm one of those people, one of those unusual people. I think I might have maybe 60 friends on Facebook, and that's it. I've been working online since like 2000 in various ways, and that's my one space. That's my space, and everybody who's my friend are people that I know. I mean, that I actually
Yeah.
talk to. They might not be local to me, but we've had conversations offline, and I feel like they are my friends. So I hear that it's kind of a very private space for me. And and the thing with business is I used to have I'm do something with my Facebook business page, but you can't be everywhere. You have to kind of pick where you're going to
Yeah.
be, and it's just impossible to be everywhere. So I I was looking at your profile, and I saw that that you were worked in sort of learning and development
Mm,
for a while.
I did. Yeah.
And for me, it seems a national sort of segue, natural segue to go from that to coaching. But what kind of prompted you to to make that change?
So I worked for a financial services company, and yeah, I was in the learning development function, looking after the global e-learning platform. And it was at a time when there was so many redundancies going on. So every year we all had to apply for our jobs. And the third time round, I just thought I'm going to tick the box and ask for redundancy, which I did and got redundancy. And then we had a outplacement provider come in, and the guy that I spoke to said, "Have you ever thought about doing outplacement?" And I hadn't even well, actually, I didn't even know what outplacement was at that time. So it I kind of fell into it, to be honest. So they were offering me outplacement, and then I ended up going for an interview to be an outplacement coach and got some consultancy work through them. And that's kind of how I set up my business. So I still do some through a consultancy, but most of my work now is kind of private clients. So yeah, it works really well.
And so what's the most rewarding part of your job, of what you're doing now with your coaching?
I just saw Sebastian's comment flash up on mine. The most rewarding part, it's when people get a job, I think. Yeah, when they finally think I can get a job. I think so many people have been in the same role for a long time, and they think they don't know anything outside. So kind of working with people to identify those skills and the transferable skills, and then they just start to get more confidence really that they will be able to get a job outside. And then when they start getting interviews and then get the job, I think often I'm more excited than they are.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I work with clients and they go off and I don't hear from them again. But every once in a while, I'll never forget this last year, the night before Thanksgiving, and things were kind of, rough around that time with all this going on. And
Mm,
I got an email from someone said, "Oh, I'm so excited. I got a job and I start like next week. I start on Monday."
yeah,
And again, I was so excited
yeah.
for her. And so I also, was totally around your LinkedIn profile, obviously. And I noticed that you have a business book club. So I'm curious
Yes.
to know about that, but also, in your off time, are you like fiction or nonfiction?
Non-fiction, really.
Okay.
Oh no, fiction. Sorry,
Oh,
fiction.
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 Okay.
Yes, yeah, yeah, fiction. Yeah. So I always love the idea of business books, and I've got quite a lot of them, and I rarely actually read them, so I might flick to a page of relevance. But I really wanted to start doing them. And yeah, I thought I'm in a book club with, outside of work, looking at kind of fiction books, and I really enjoy that, talking about the book. And I thought, do you know what? It would make me read a book if I did a business book club. So yeah, it was our first one yesterday, actually,
Oh,
first
okay.
one, yeah. And we were talking about a book called You're Not Listening and Why That Matters by Kate Murphy. It's an excellent book, really, really good. And I listened to it on Audible, actually, which was really nice. So I would listen to it while I was out walking or driving. So it's really nice hearing, and she read the book out herself. So yeah, and for the book club we did yesterday, I kind of broke it down into 4 key sections. I had four. Well, I should have had 4 guests, but one was ill, so we had 3 guests yesterday. And I asked each of them a question about a particular topic in the book, and then we all discussed that and gave our thoughts. So it's really good, and we've got another one coming up in a few weeks.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'll send you an invite. Yeah.
I have to tell you, the one thing about, if I was independently wealthy, I would just be nothing. I'd be in school all the time because I loved school, and I was an English major. And one of the best things about it for me was, we'd read these great books, then we'd have these fabulous discussions,
Mm,
and that's something that's like the one thing that I really really miss
yeah.
about that. But I love the fiction too, and I just actually in the last 6 months got back to reading fiction again, and it really is, a nice change. I think it's a nice change for the brain
Mm,
to go there. And once I found that I can borrow them sort of online from my local library, it's like, oh,
yeah. Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
but
We
go
we
ahead.
as a family all read quite a lot. So it was one time I can remember really clearly. We went to see Coldplay in concert, and myself and my 2 boys, they're now 20 and 16, so it's about 5 years ago. We all got into the venue, sat down, and we were there hours before they came on stage, and we all got a hard copy book out of our bag and started reading. And my husband just looked around and was like, oh, "Rock and roll, you lot." So we're all just like, well, of course, we're here for a few hours. We need to read.
Yeah, that's so funny. So are you a, hardcover then, not, the Kindle, or is it
I
depends?
I've got I have all really. So I normally so my mum used to work in a library as well, so she would get hard copy books for us all the time. So I would generally have a hard copy book on the go and something on the Kindle and something on my phone and Audible, so that I've got an option wherever I am. Because if we're out and my boys are looking in a record shop, I might just sit outside and have a quick read.
No, I love that. I have, bookcases and bookcases of books
Mm,
myself. I have, business books here in my office, and
mm,
then in our little den, I have a bunch of other, fiction and what that I've read over the years.
yeah.
So, as we're winding down, I have a question for you about, this is something actually that I ask all the clients that I work with. So, as people are looking at this, what is something about you that would surprise people?
Oh, blimey. Um, I don't, I don't know that it would surprise people to know that I love sport of all types. So you'll see from my profile, I like water sports and running and all of that. But I suppose a slightly I do like quite random sports as well. So I have done belly dancing in the past. So that's something that's quite funny, I suppose.
I hear that actually I've heard that that's fabulous exercise for
Yeah,
that.
it is really, it was really good.
Midsection, that's stuff to work on,
Yeah.
particularly people like me, over that certain age. But yeah, but the thing is though, when we were talking, I don't know, maybe a month ago, and you
Yeah.
were talking to me about the running and everything, I had no idea. I had no
Mm.
idea, and I thought it was fascinating. And I'm wondering if that helps you be disciplined, because I am just so undisciplined in my
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, it helps me in so many ways. So obviously the whole fitness thing, and I do find if I get out of the habit of running, I can go for a little while without doing it. But generally, I do run several times a week, and it helps me clear my head. So it's really good thinking time for me. Occasionally, I'll listen to a book or something when I'm running, but mostly I won't. I'll just kind of go out, and that just helps me to sort of organise my thoughts and maybe plan the day, or sometimes chat with a friend if we're meeting up for a run. So yeah, I love running for all of those reasons.
Well, this has been so much fun. We're getting sort of close to the end, so I just want to give you the opportunity before I ask you about what's coming up and all that. Um, is there anything that we should have talked about that I didn't ask you about and you think would be important or helpful for people listening now or on the replay to know?
I mean, I think we didn't specifically talk about the about section, so I think I think about that. So you could structure it and it depends if you're openly looking for work or not. I suppose if you're openly looking for work, then you could use that top section to really talk about what it is you're looking for and have all those keywords. Because particularly if it's something you want to do that's different to now, you want those words to be found in your profile, and that can't be in your experience section if you've not done it before. So use that for your advantage. So top part about what you're looking to do is a bit like an elevator pitch, and then beneath that you can talk a bit more historical, and try not to mention things you don't like. So again, someone I was talking to earlier, she hates being a project manager, so I said, well, just don't mention that then. Focus on the other things that you've done. So because you don't want to be found for something you don't want to do, so just be quite thoughtful in what it is you're writing.
I think that is so important. And I often ask the clients that I work with kind of what got them into that career, and that often works its way into their about section, and kind of can make them memorable. If you're working in as a head of the ER and you're a woman because it's the family business, well, that's kind of something that keeps it memorable. And you know I'm thinking about, the about section and the whole LinkedIn thing. Um, is there anything else that you would want to, oh, okay. So we have a question from Sebastian before we leave. Is it not coming across too desperate? I'm guessing he means putting that you're looking for another
You're
job.
looking for I mean, I don't think so. I think depending on how you word it, but I think you could be saying, "I'm looking for a role as this, and this is why." So lots and lots of people are wanting to work in sustainability, for instance, at the moment. So it could just be, "I'm looking for a move into the sustainability area because of these reasons. I've got a passion for the planet," or whatever it is that is your actual reason. So you're kind of talking about, you're not saying I'm desperate for a job or I'm looking for a job. You're just talking about what it is you would like to do next as part of your career plan. So I don't think that it is coming across desperate, no, but I think just be careful with your wording.
Yeah, no, that's true. I often think about that as with the frame, the open to work frame. What's
Mm.
your take on that real quick before we kind of.
Um, Again, I think it is personal, but I don't really see the harm in having it on. Lots of people think if it's going to be on for a long time, then that could make it very obvious that you've been out of work. But I would say put it on for recruiters to start with, see how you feel, maybe put it on and then take it off again, just to see if it does make a difference, because it is there. Every time you like something, it is going to remind people you're looking for work. So I
Oh,
don't, I don't think there's shame in not having a job. Redundancy is so common. You know, I think pretty much everyone I speak to has been made redundant, or they know someone's been
yeah.
made redundant. So the idea of it is it's there to help you find your next role. I know lots of people really don't like it, and if you don't, then don't use it. But yeah, I think it's useful.
Well, I thank you for that, and I'm glad it sort of came to my mind
Mm.
based on Sed's question there. So as we're winding down and we're saying goodbye, are you open to connecting with people on LinkedIn?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, it's really
And
good.
and what have you got going on that you would like to like to share?
So we've got our next book club in a few weeks. So I think the book is called Gardening for the Mind. It's not one that I've heard of, so I'm going to be looking at that next. And I'm in a bit of a strategy planning phase at the moment, actually. So I'm looking at I've got a bit of a strategy for my newsletter. So I've had 3 editions so far. Next one will be out at the beginning of the month. I'm loosely thinking about a online course at the moment. Um, yeah, so lots of plans. I've got a big flip chart that I have on the floor that I kind of jot down notes.
Oh, yeah, I hear that. I have actually a huge calendar. You can sort of see
Mm,
it behind me for all the things that were places where I need to be, speaking Clubhouse, LinkedIn Lives, etc. So
yeah,
I want to thank you again so much for being here. Thank you for everyone who's been out
thank
there.
you.
I know there are people out there watching, and certainly if they're looking for a job, they don't want people that they don't want to comment. They
Yeah,
want to see
yeah,
them. But thank you so much for being here. And I'm so thrilled that you said yes. And so goodbye, everyone. Have
thank
a great
you.
rest of your day and a great weekend. And we will say goodbye.
Thank you very much.